Good morning. Welcome to BKP Politics. It's Tuesday morning. I'm your host, BKP. You're watching FYNTV.com. And good morning. Glad to be back. Welcome. Voice of Rural America. Now, let me ask you a question, okay? As Emily is putting up all of the ways to follow us on social media, there you go. You can text us. As I always say, you can text me anytime. Send an email. Yesterday, reaching out to the viewers, I've asked for someone to dedicate themselves to research for Voice of Rural America. Now everybody out there, you're in the research department. You find things, you send it to me. But someone that is going to be dedicated to working with myself here and researching, and I appreciate it. I had someone reach out. Great conversation yesterday. We got some great things getting ready to happen in the side of research on this show. So I really appreciate you reaching out yesterday. So now that being said, okay, yesterday, I know if you've tuned in this morning, and is it Merrick Garland, and you watched yesterday Merrick Garland's testimony there. Give me number 44, okay. You're saying, you're wanting to say to me, are you going to play the clips? Now, I want to tell you something when I say I'm not as concerned, okay? There's confirmations that are going to happen in administrations. Now, the Supreme Court of the United States of America, we will get into that in a minute, because I want to talk about what it means to election law going forward. And Clarence Thomas hit it out of the park. He hit it out of the park. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, in his dissent, wrote exactly what I've been saying on this show for God knows how long. But so many of you watched Merrick Garland's testimony yesterday. I get it. What's going to happen in the Department of Justice? Okay, the Department of Justice is a disaster. All of the the acronym, departments, DOJ, FBI, NSA, CIA, they're all a disaster, okay? NEA, whatever, if it has three letters, it's a disaster. And you're not going to turn this behemoth around in an administration. Now, Trump attempted to turn some of these behemoths around, but what President Donald J. Trump did do is expose things. So many things we did not know, like fishing with dynamite. I'm sorry, maybe you're not supposed to throw the dynamite. There's the fish floating on the top, right? So Donald Trump went fishing with dynamite. I'm telling you, boom, they're floating. But, okay, so you may think, well, wait a minute. I'm not as concerned that this guy is going to be, we lived through Eric Holder, okay? And I understand we're dealing with Obama Eric Holder administration now. I agree with that, okay? But it's nominees like Merrick Garland, the OMB director, she's going to be gone. They're going to be a new one appointed. These pretty much, they're going to happen. All right. Now, made for TV, I love Senator Kennedy from Louisiana, Josh Hawley from out in Missouri, but a lot of the sound bites and clips are made for TV excitement. Okay. That I'm not saying I will not play, but I have other things. Yes, Garland pledges to prioritize capital attack Domestic terrorism. Yes, we know that. Shocker. Okay. And no matter how much he cries and gets emotional during the testimony about his family coming here and fleeing a foreign country of persecution, and he wants to make sure that doesn't happen in America. No matter how many tears they shed, this guy is in the Biden camp, the Democrats camp. They're not picked. The deep state is not going to let any of these people get into place if they're not in lockstep, period. Okay? So enough on Merrick Garland for a minute. Or just enough on that for a minute. Because we got a lot to cover. Now, who would have thought? Who would have thunk it, right? Right? Give me number 11. Okay? I say conservative. Who would have thunk it? Okay? Would you have ever thought that the most not conservative, constitutionalist, the real conservative, would be a black man in America? If you had to go back, well, wait a minute. I'm not saying I'm not saying it was never possible, but the most conservative constitutionalist, the Antonin Scalia of the Supreme Court, is Clarence Thomas, a black man. That's right. Now, just some things to think about. Now, I am not a deep state Bush family dynasty, dynasty. I'm not fans, but I love reality. Truth is truth and facts are facts. I understand Democrats don't understand that, and either does the media. All right, but he is appointed by George H. Bush, right? He's in the Wayback Machine. This guy is right after Ronald Reagan, appointed by the two most conservative judges on the court, period, are Bush appointees, right? He is George H. That's a fact. All right. And number 12, Samuel Alito. They're neck and neck. I tell you what, I like this guy. I like this guy. If you read his statements, his dissent on certain cases, where he stands, I like this Supreme Court justice. It happens to be white, so we wanted to go for Coca-Cola. We wanted to go with a black Supreme Court justice first, but okay, and we're going somewhere with this. Now, this is Samuel Alito, nominated by who? George W. Bush. So I just thought it was interesting this morning that the two most conservative justices on the bench that we can count on, George H. and George W., put on the bench. Now, there's a reason, and I'm going to get off this. Give me number 13, Neil Gorsuch. Okay? There's a reason why Neil Gorsuch can side. He can side with Alito and Clarence Thomas. And there's a reason why number 14, Amy Coney Barrett, this is a Trump appointee, Donald Trump. And then number 14, Amy Coney Barrett. And number 15, Brett Kavanaugh. Both tread lightly in siding with Thomas, Alito, and Gorsuch. And I'm going to give you my opinion later in the show why these two Trump appointees are very cautious. Now, I know what you're saying out there. What the hell? Who told them we wanted them to be cautious? We want them just to apply the Constitution. I get it. I'm with you. Okay. But I know, I feel I know why these two in particularly are cautious. So that being said, going back to Clarence Thomas, number 11, okay. And here's where we're going to get into. This is the most conservative constitutionalist in the country, maybe in history. Now, I don't want to knock, Antonin Scalia, right? All right. Still favorite, top right here. But this guy right here, the black guy, I know I keep saying that, but they don't like to talk about it out there. For some reason, Democrats, liberals, deep state, all the above, they miss the NAACP, all of them miss. The guy happens to be black. So now, what have I said on this show? And this is going to be a takeaway. I want you to yes, Merrick Garland. I get it. Boom. Okay. Yes, Trump's tax returns. I get it. We're going to get into that. But right here, this to me there's three things that go to the top for me today. And this is one. And the challenges are over. I have had emails and text messages, wait till this court case comes up. Wait till this comes before the Supreme Court. Wait till this happens, that happens, and whatever, right? Now it's over. It's officially done. The Supreme Court is not going to hear any 2020 presidential election challenges. Period. Done. Throw it out. The Pennsylvania case it's past tense. It's gone. It was enormous, the Pennsylvania case. When you get into that, and we might dig a little bit into the article in a minute to expose that, but the Wisconsin, Arizona, Michigan, Georgia, Pennsylvania, it's gone. Okay? Now, yesterday I watched, and I'm going to show you something in a minute, but I watched 3 hours. I had my headphones on while I was reading articles, studying, texting people, talking to people, making phone calls. HB 31. It's the omnibus 48-page election bill in Georgia. Okay? Now you're watching all across the United States of America. What about, 2020? And for my good friend that stood up at the other night at the Towns County Republican Party meeting and said, I hear all this. A good, this great guy, man. He's a good guy. He stood up in the middle of the meeting and he said, I hear all this 2022. But what are we going to do about 2020? What are we going to do? Okay? My answer to you, my friend, nothing. That's it. Nothing. It doesn't matter what you believe. It doesn't matter what witnesses you watched. It doesn't matter what videos you watched. It doesn't matter how much testimony you heard. It does not matter how great of a case that Kelly in Pennsylvania had for the Supreme Court. The answer is nothing. Sorry to bring that. Nothing. That's what we're doing. Nothing. No one is talking about the machines. No one. Okay? No. Even in Georgia. Well, wait a minute. I hear this representative in this state, and the other day I was in an article, and this representative said this, and this one said that. Let me show you something, folks, and we'll get back to that. Give me number 2. Well, he's a crackpot. hot. He's crazy. He's loco. He's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. I don't care what you call this guy. Do you know him? His name's Mike Lindell. Okay? Now give me number one. I lost 20 million retailers and it cost me 60, not 20 million. I'm sorry, back up. Boom, correction. I lost 20 retailers and it cost me 65 million. My Pillow CEO, Mike Lindell, admits he will make staggering losses this year after boycott of his firm over his election fraud claims. And he's hit with a $1.3 billion Dominion defamation suit. Nothing. We're not doing anything. You can't talk about the machines. There's not one in Georgia right now. Okay? And this is, sadly, this is America's hope. I'm sorry, America, Georgia sent you down the toilet. Brian Kemp flushed the friggin' toilet on America and swirled us right down. Boom. The tidy bowl man, he's no longer floating. He's gone. Brian Kemp, the governor of Georgia, appointed Kelly Loeffler. I don't want to get riled up. The whole thing, it started downhill. Boom, right after that. Long story short, the governor, our lieutenant governor, our secretary of state, Brad Raffensperger, okay? The list goes on. We flushed America. Sorry. I apologize. Now, the sad thing is the election laws that could be changed and the ones that could set the standard in Georgia, in America, is Georgia, because we're supposed to have a Republican governor. We're supposed to have a Republican House, Republican Senate, Republican Lieutenant Governor. But you will not find a piece of legislation, not one, that deals with a machine, not a one, across this country. There you go. Now, there's been people talk about a thumbprint, all right? Heard somebody in a presentation the other night. Remember right after 9/11, you could not walk in a bank and cash a check without your thumbprint, right? People have talked about your thumbprint. You don't see that in any legislation, okay? None whatsoever. All right, so let me get back focused. So what I have said for months on end, if nothing went wrong, then what is there to fix? What is there to fix? If zero went wrong, if we can't find zero issue, if we can't even get the Supreme Court to hear a case, because you see, the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania overstepped, and you go do the research on Kelly, Representative Kelly in Pennsylvania, the lawsuit, you will find what we're talking about. The Supreme Court of Pennsylvania, my understanding is, really quick on a thumbnail sketch, changed election law, and they do not have the authority to do that in Pennsylvania. Okay, that's the quick version in a sentence. All right, if you're screaming no, that's pretty much it. Okay, which allowed them to count hundreds of thousands of ballots that were illegal based on the fact that the Pennsylvania Supreme Court changed election law. Now, fast forward down to Georgia. The Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, oh my God, he is political toast, all right? This guy's a disaster for America, not just for Georgia. I'm sorry, I apologize every damn day to the whole country. But Brad Raffensperger can we get our votes back? Can we say, ooh, that was a mistake? Brad Raffensperger in Georgia entered into an agreement with Fair Fight, Stacey Abrams, and the Democrats. Fair Fight, don't forget, because I'm going to show you something here in a minute. Stacey Abrams, that gapped tooth broad, big broad, that gap tooth, extra large, she's a 2X. That gap tooth, 2X, extra large, black woman. Hell, just go for it. Whatever the hell, right? But bottom line is, he made a deal with her. That was unconstitutional. He was not allowed to do that. And that's according to the Georgia Constitution. That belonged, everything Brad Raffensperger did belonged to, right, the legislature, the Georgia legislature. So we have that deal. We have Pennsylvania, on and on, right? We're not talking about flipping votes. Let me be perfectly clear on something, okay? We're not talking about flipping votes. We're not talking about an anomaly. We're not talking about even 2:30 when all the machines went down, they came back up, and voila, Biden is president, or it looked to be that way. We're not talking about any of that. We're talking about constitutional things that took place in this country that, if corrected, would have a major bearing on elections, future elections. So when somebody stands up and says, what are we doing about it? Okay, HB 531 in Georgia, it's not enough. It's not enough to say, okay, you've got to have an ID, okay? That being said, give me number, and we're going to take a break because we got a lot to unpack today, because I want to say this to you. Give me number. I got to go find my glasses during the break too. Did I call for 10? Give me number 10. Emily, how are you today? Thank you very much. Emily, just right on the ball. I got to give it to her. 8:23 this morning. Fraud by mail. Oh, there's one. All right. A decision in these cases would not have any implications regarding the 2020 election. Okay? But a decision would provide invaluable guidance for future elections. This is Alito. 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 I love to say that. Alito. All right? Samuel. Samuel, get in here. Anyhow, a decision in these cases would not have any implications regarding the 2020 election. So Samuel is saying, you know what? I mean, hearing the case, we're not going to go back and uncertified. We've already signed the documents. We're not going to remove the guy. This case does not require us removing Biden, okay? But a decision would provide invaluable guidance for future elections. Alito wrote, he said the cases call out for review. The cases call out for review. Future guidance for future elections. Why, hell, after yesterday, Pennsylvania Supreme Court, have at it. Do whatever the hell you want. I mean, Georgia, we can make laws and we can have it on the books because we already have it. And, you know, we can say, Secretary of State, you can't do this, that, and the other thing. Always the other thing that's get you in trouble. Not this and that. This, that, and the other thing, okay? So, hey, the other thing going to get you in trouble, but it doesn't matter. The Supreme Court has passed. One more, and I'll take a break. Give me number 9. That's Alito. Alito. Samuel, give me number 9. We failed to settle this dispute before the election. Okay? They failed. The Supreme Court failed this country, folks. and thus provide clear rules. Now we again fail to provide clear rules for future elections. Okay, let me say this. I didn't want to come here this morning and be correct. I mean, I really, this is not what I want to use to say, hey, I told you this was happening. If all the way to the Supreme Court, if nothing happened, there's no evidence. There's the Trump lie. That's what it said. The Trump lie. No evidence. The Supreme, they don't say what, they just say every challenge has been thrown out, no proof, nothing. Then why would a judge accept any election law changes? Why? And we'll go over that in a minute, okay? The decision to leave election law hidden beneath a shroud of doubt is baffling. Hidden under a shroud of doubt. By doing nothing, we invite future confusion and erosion of voter confidence. And that was Clarence Thomas. By doing nothing, we invite future confusion and erosion of voter confidence by doing nothing. Folks, put up, and let me tell you something. I listened, and I'm not going to tell you again because I know you get angry. You get all worked up. I understand. HB 531 yesterday, 48 pages. I read all 48 pages. 3 hours worth of testimony yesterday. And you know what? I watched all 3 hours. So when they got up and they said this, that, and always the other thing, okay, when they said that during the testimony in Georgia that Barry Fleming, the chair of the Georgia Election Integrity Committee for the House of Representatives in Georgia, I understood everything they were talking about because I read all 48 pages. That being said, I listened to all of the people that came up as witnesses that HB 538 was from unconstitutional to whatever. They made a list a mile long. Now, I showed you this yesterday, and I'm going to show you the answer. Okay? Give me number 47. And the number's up there. I didn't get the top. I did it yesterday. But this came to this phone from Fair Fight. Fair Fight. Stacey Abrams sent this. And this is what I asked you yesterday. How many text messages, okay? Now, I will say Republican groups, particularly the Georgia 9th District, hats off to you, put out and shared on your Facebook pages that the hearings were going on and please listen in and pay attention. But how many groups trying to change election law, okay, really worked hard to get you information and is really out there fighting? Because this is Fair Fight. Who is Fair Fight? Stacey Abrams, period, okay? Fair Fight, hey, boom, we're rights, Georgia, rushing introduction and hearing process, cut Georgians out of the legislation process. In reaction, Fair Fight Action is hosting a series of public hearings on HB 531 next week to ensure you have all the information you need about these attacks on voting access. Will you join us? I text back. I sent back, yes, please send me info on the hearing times. Send me info. They answered me. Great. Thank you so much. You can sign up for the hearings at blah, blah, blah. We are looking forward to seeing you then. Feel free to invite anyone, right? They answered me right back with the information. They are ready to fight against any election integrity laws that change the theft, the stolen election that just took place. And let me say, I didn't say flip votes. I didn't say that. I didn't say an anomaly at 2 a.m. I didn't say that. I'm talking about the constitutional review that should have been done in this country, where especially Pennsylvania and Georgia are concerned, or Pennsylvania. The changing of election law by a Supreme Court of Pennsylvania. Take a break. We'll be right back.